Followed the rules, and the rules killed it. Or worse, kept it alive just enough to embarrass you all summer. Here's the thing. That advice isn't neutral. It's wrong for this plant. Hydrangeas aren't fussy. They're specific. And almost everything written on the average plant tag treats them like they're all the same shrub. They aren't. Different hydrangeas make their flower buds at different times of year, on different aged stems, in different amounts of sun. Miss that, and you can do everything else right and still get sticks. I'm going to give you 5 fixes. A choice you make before you even buy the plant. A shovel move that keeps it from drowning. A watering habit that ends the noon fainting act. A pruning rule that actually saves your flowers. And a cheap cover trick for the nights and afternoons when the weather lies to you. One thread ties all of it together. Roots need air. Buds need cover. Say that to yourself while we work. Roots need air. Buds need cover. Start there, and the rest is just doing the right thing in the right week. Let's start with the choice you make before you ever pick up a shovel. The plant on the bench with the prettiest flower is almost never the right plant for your yard. That's not bad luck. That's how the shelf is stocked. The big blue mop head in the gallon pot is usually a big leaf hydrangea, and a big leaf in a hot, exposed yard is a heartbreak waiting to happen. So here's the rule. Match the species to your yard first, the flower second. There are basically 5 hydrangeas you'll meet. Panicle, the cone-shaped white to pink one. Smooth, the one Annabelle belongs to. Big leaf, the classic blue and pink mop heads and lace caps. Mountain, big leaf's tougher cousin. And oak leaf, with leaves shaped like, well, oak leaves. Panicle and smooth are the hardy ones. Zones 3 through 8, sometimes 9. They bloom on new wood, meaning they make this year's flower buds this year, in spring. So even if winter snaps every stem off at the snow line, you still get flowers. Panicle wants 6 or more hours of sun. Give it that, and it carries the show. Big leaf, mountain, and oak leaf are the divas. Zones 5 through 9, and they bloom on old wood. The buds that opened this July were formed last August, sitting on the stem tips all winter. One bad cold night, one bad pruning cut, and the flowers are gone before the leaves even open. Big leaf and mountain also hate hot afternoon sun. 3 to 5 hours of morning sun, then shade. That's their sweet spot. If you live somewhere with real winter and you want flowers without fuss, buy a panicle or a smooth. If you're in love with the blue mop heads and you have a spot on the east side of the house, then big leaf, and we'll protect it. Pick the plant your yard can actually keep alive. Now, the shovel move. Because you can buy the perfect plant and still drown it in the first month. Every blog tells you to dig a deep, tidy hole, throw in compost, and seat the plant nice and low so it's stable. That's a drowning pool. What you've actually built is a smooth-walled bucket in the ground that fills up every time it rains and holds water around the crown of the plant. Roots breathe. They need oxygen in the spaces between soil particles. Fill those spaces with standing water for a week, and the roots suffocate and rot, and the plant crashes for no reason you can see from above. Here's what to do instead. Dig a hole twice as wide as the pot, but no deeper. Set the plant so the top of the root ball is level with the surrounding soil, exactly where it sat in the nursery pot. If your soil is heavy clay, go further. Mound it up so the crown sits 1 to 2 inches above the grade, and slope the soil away. Water will shed off instead of pooling in. Scuff up the sides of the hole with your shovel. Don't leave them smooth and shiny, because roots hit a slick clay wall and circle like they're still in the pot. Rough it up, and they'll push out into the yard. And if your site actually puddles after a hard rain, don't be a hero. Build a raised bed or move the plant. Hydrangeas will forgive a dry week. They will not forgive wet feet for a month. Roots need air. That's half the whole video right there. The leaves go limp at lunch. You panic, you drag the hose out, you soak it. And you keep doing that, day after day, and slowly, the plant gets worse. Here's what's actually happening. Hydrangea leaves are big and thin. On a hot afternoon, they lose water through their surface faster than the roots can pull it up, even when the soil is plenty wet. That's heat wilt, not thirst. Check the same leaves at 7 in the evening. If they've perked back up on their own, the soil was fine the whole time. You didn't need to water. You just watered a plant that was already wet, and now those roots are sitting in mud with no air. Same problem as the deep hole. The fix is 2 pieces. Water deeply, not often. About 1 inch a week in mild weather, up to 2 inches in a heat wave, delivered in 1 or 2 long soakings instead of daily sprinkles. Do it in the morning so the plant goes into the hot part of the day already topped up. A slow hose at the base for 15 or 20 minutes beats a sprinkler every time. Then the mulch moat. 2 to 3 inches of shredded bark or wood chips spread in a ring about 1.5 feet to 2 feet out from the stems. Keep a 2-finger gap of bare soil right at the base of the canes, so the mulch isn't touching the wood. Mulch against the stems traps moisture and rots the bark. That mulch layer does 3 jobs at once. It slows evaporation, so your inch of water lasts. It keeps the soil 10 or 15 degrees cooler in the root zone, so the plant isn't fighting the heat from below and above, and it buffers temperature swings in winter. Deep water, mulched ring. Hose down in the morning. The afternoon faint stops being a crisis. It becomes something the plant just does and recovers from on its own. Here's where most people accidentally cancel their own flower show. They get out the clippers in October because the yard looks messy, or in March because a blog said early spring is pruning time. And then, in July, they wonder why there are 0 blooms on a perfectly healthy plant. Forget the calendar. The rule is the wood. Panicle and smooth bloom on new wood. They make this year's buds on this spring's growth. So you can cut them back hard in late winter or very early spring, before they leaf out, and they'll still flower beautifully that summer. Take them down by about 1/3. They don't care. Big leaf, mountain, and oak leaf bloom on old wood. The flower buds for next summer are formed on the stems by late summer of the year before. If you cut those stems in fall or clean them up in early spring, you are cutting off next year's flowers with your own hands. For these 3, the only safe time to prune is right after they finish blooming, and you have to stop by about midsummer. After that, leave them alone. Dead stems can come off any time, but live wood is sacred. If you don't know what kind you have, don't prune. Watch it for a season. A big leaf or mountain shrub with no pruning will still flower. A big leaf that gets sheared every March will not. The rebloomers, like the endless summer types, flower on both old and new wood. That's insurance against a bad winter, not a license to hack at them. Treat them like old wood bloomers, and you'll get more flowers, not fewer. Last one. And this is the move that saves the season. When the weather does something stupid, which it will. You've got an old wood hydrangea. The buds for this summer have been sitting on the stem tips since last August. April comes, the plant breaks dormancy, the buds start to swell. And then, the forecast says 28 degrees on Thursday night. One cold night ruptures the cells inside those swollen buds, and they turn brown and drop. The plant looks fine in May. It just never flowers. This is the easiest save in gardening. When the forecast shows a late frost, go out before dark and throw a bedsheet, an old blanket, or a piece of frost cloth over the shrub. An overturned plastic bin works for small ones. The point isn't warmth. It's trapping the ground's heat around the buds for one night. Pull it off in the morning once the sun's up. That's it. 5 minutes of work saves a whole summer of flowers. For cold climate winters, pile mulch 6 to 12 inches deep over the root zone in late fall, right after the ground gets cold. That slow releases the temperature swings that crack stems and kill buds. The other side is heat. A big leaf in west-facing afternoon sun in August will scorch. Brown, crispy leaf edges, bleached-out flowers. If you can't move the plant, run a piece of shade cloth on stakes between the plant and the hot sun for the worst weeks. Even a beach umbrella through the afternoon helps. Water in the morning. Don't try to hose rescue it at 3 in the afternoon. You'll just steam the roots. Roots need air. Buds need cover. That's the whole game. So here's where you are now. You pick the species that fits your yard, not the prettiest pot on the bench. You plant it level, or a little high in clay, never sunk in a bowl. You water deep and slow in the morning, and you ring it with 2 to 3 inches of mulch, with a gap at the stems. You prune by the wood, not the date. And when the weather lies to you, a bedsheet saves the flowers. One thing to do this week, go out with a bag of mulch and lay a ring around your hydrangea, 18 to 24 inches out from the stems, 2 to 3 inches deep, 2-finger gap of bare soil at the base, 20 minutes, tops. That single ring fixes water loss, root heat, and soil swing all at once. You're not the person who kills hydrangeas anymore. You're the neighbor whose shrub shrugs off the heat wave and blooms anyway.